Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we have the latest from the live radar. Run for the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, and slowly we're seeing the heat retreat back towards Europe and the high pressure starting to migrate away as well. It's not a quick process though, it's going to take much of next working week for that to slowly move away. So actually for most on the ground it's going to be pretty dry, warm initially, turning a little bit fresher later on next week as we see a bit of a northeasterly flow as that high pressure splits, one bit going back in towards Europe, the other bit going up towards Greenland and Iceland. So actually, although synoptically we are seeing quite a few changes, at the surface not going to see much going on at all, just a bit more thick cloud and those temperatures starting to drop. As we progress into the longer term though, it does open the door to an Atlantic flow returning into the final week or so of August, and we are looking at potentially an ex-hurricane heading our way as well. Most of the runs at the moment do have it flooding into the North Atlantic very quickly later on next week, but none of them have it travelling quickly across towards the UK. Most of them have it quickly entering the Atlantic, stalling, and then potentially heading our way, opening the door to a stronger jet stream, but not giving us anything too severe, at least at this moment. So we are definitely looking at more of an autumnal and unsettled west to northwesterly wind there to end August as a result of that ex-hurricane. But at the moment, the next 7 days, it is going to turn fresher, but it's not going to be too bad at all. Still plenty of dry and sunny conditions around. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, to like and subscribe. Now at the moment we've got a pretty dry day. We're recording this around 6 PM on Saturday afternoon. We can see generally a few showers across southern parts of the Republic of Ireland, a few heavy showers and some storms there, as we do start to see low pressure trying to push in from the west, but high pressure is still just about hanging on and it will slowly migrate away over the coming days. Temperatures this afternoon, nothing amazing, around the low 20s, mid 20s in some western areas where we do have the warmest conditions, but because that high pressure is splitting northwards, we are going to open the door to more northeasterly flows over the coming days, and it will turn it fresher as we do head into the middle of next working week. So although this week a lot of the hottest conditions have been across central and southern areas, slowly it is going to migrate westwards, already doing that today, and it's going to become more apparent into this working week with the freshest conditions along those North Sea coasts. You can still see the heat across much of mainland Europe isn't too far away, but it is retreating back towards the Mediterranean as we do start to see that southerly wind getting cut off. Now, if you do look at the latest UKV, you can see today plenty of cloud around. It has lingered the cloud quite a bit more than we anticipated already. We've seen a lot more cloud than this UKV run is showing, but it is starting to split up a little bit this evening, but still plenty of cloud around. It has held those temperatures down, especially in the east. Into Sunday, it's a similar day. Again, we start to see a bit of that northeasterly flow starting to arrive, not properly arriving yet, so it will start to turn a little bit fresher, a little bit more low cloud, and maybe the odd patch of drizzle. You can see not too much changing into Monday. Again, a bit of cloud and maybe some drizzle into the east and a few showers approaching the southwest. But still, this high pressure is slowly shifting away. As I can't emphasise that enough, it is a very slow progress, as we'll see from the synoptic charts in a moment's time. And you can see still pretty dry there during Monday. Into Tuesday, though, we do start to see that northeasterly wind arriving as the high that mainly affecting us is moving northwards. And you can see that with the wind coming in from the North Sea, a few showers and just generally thicker clouds, so more moisture in the air with the wind whipping up a little bit more there. And then into Wednesday, it's a similar story. Again, you can see those showers coming in off the North Sea with this northeasterly breeze. And you can see it's all because if we put it on the mean sea level pressure, we're starting to see that high moving northwards. The other side of the high is further southwards, and it's allowing this northeasterly breeze to move it. So still pretty dry, bit of more increased cloud, a few odd showers, but turning much fresher. That will be the sort of notable theme. And you can see that from these latest upper air temperatures, still looking very warm over the next few days, and while we see some sunshine, still can't rule out mid to high 20s. But as we progress into the middle of the week, you can start to see those northeasterly winds arriving, and you can start to see much fresher conditions do start to come back in. The coolest conditions we've probably seen in a good couple of weeks now, back into the high teens, even in the east, where we've seen lots of high 20s 20s or low 30s in the past week. So it's going to be quite a change, but at the moment, the fortunate thing is it's looking pretty dry. Now, do look at the max temperatures here this afternoon. Widely, low 20s up towards the mid 20s, even high 20s in the far west. But again, really only where we see the sunshine. As I said today, the cloud has been a little bit more extensive than we initially anticipated. Into Sunday, it's a similar story. Low 20s for most, mid 20s in some spots. Into Monday, you can already start to see that sea breeze starting to arrive. East Anglia, North East England, Eastern Scotland, more towards the high teens, mid-20s elsewhere. Into Tuesday, a similar story, maybe 25 degrees across the far south, but much cooler further northwards. And you can see into Wednesday, really becoming more and more apparent, only 21 or 22 across central areas, mid-teens along those North Sea coasts as slowly that fresher air starts to move in. It's really beyond that though. As we head around the 21st, 22nd, we could start to see actual precipitation and some stronger low pressure systems arriving. We can see that now on the latest GFS. The high pressure sat right over the top of us, but you can slowly see one bit splits northwards, the other bit splits southwards, and you can see it happens very slowly over the next few days. And it leaves us in this little lull where we see a bit of a northeasterly breeze. That main high down towards the Med, the other section of that main high towards Iceland and Greenland. So it brings in fresher air there into the middle of next working week. And you can see we're still overall under higher pressure, which means hopefully, although fresher and more cloud and a little bit of rain, it should remain hopefully mostly dry. But then all eyes look out to the west as we head into the final week of August. That very strong low pressure system, that is actually a major hurricane that is developing out in the North Atlantic at the moment, not going to impact any land or major land masses at this stage. So really not hearing much about it in the news, but it is a major hurricane or developing into a major hurricane. But you can see it does disintegrate quite quickly into the North Atlantic as it heads our way. Still very strong there, even out towards sort of day 7, day 8 here, and it looks vicious. But it very quickly fills in and it slowly crawls our way in the subsequent days, eventually bringing some heavy rain and some gusty winds for the time of year, but nothing too spectacular. The biggest thing is it does turn us unsettled with a westerly flow there to end the month. Not only bringing some heavier rain in, but the notable thing will be fresher air masses as well. You can see more of a northwesterly wind, and you can see that it is going to be a much cooler end to the month. We can see that from the temperature deviation. Lots of blues moving in there as we start to see the jet stream powering up. And you can see that if we put on those upper air winds, if we do run back to this week, you can see jet stream very amplified, not particularly organised or strong. And we're in this lull where it's generally dry with the higher pressure extending northwards. But if we watch the subsequent days, once that system starts to move out into the North Atlantic, you can see this band of jet stream gets very strong, and look where it's heading straight towards the UK, and that just continues in the subsequent days. And by the end of this run, look at that, a much more organised, strong westerly jet stream there as we do head towards early September. So a more autumnal pattern starting to develop there. We are at the time of year where slowly the stratospheric polar vortex is starting to power up in the next week or two, starting to reform. So we are expecting the jet stream inevitably to power up as it does every year, but we could see quite a deepening of that and quickening of that strengthening in the next week or two as a result of that ex-tropical system. Now, to look at the latest GM, it's broadly very similar over the next few days, with the high pressure extending towards Greenland, the other bit heading back into Europe, opening that northeasterly breeze for this week. Low pressure milling out in the Atlantic, then it gets combined with that ex-hurricane, and again, looks like it's going to head our way, but much faster than the GFS. It fills in, and it does reduce its pressure, and at day 10, we do start to get impacted by that low. It will bring some rain and some stronger winds, and if we do zoom in, you can see there's some heavy bands of rain moving in from the west. You can see the upper air temperatures are fresher, nothing too cool, but fresher, and you can see the 2 meter temperatures would probably suffer in the west, mid to high teens, low 20s in the far east as a result of some slightly warmer air there across the near continent. But the biggest thing, as I said, will be that precipitation, and we'd see some stronger wind gusts, but you can see nothing too remarkable here, just a lot better than we've got or we've had over the past week or two. So we'll keep a very close eye on it, all these different scenarios. But at the moment, you can see both the GM and the GFS do have that ex-hurricane eventually reaching us, but very weakened. And the biggest thing it will do is just turn us westerly there to end summer. And if we do finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, the midnight run, again, the high pressure splitting northwards and southwards with that northeasterly breeze. Low pressure slowly trying to move in later on next week. And you can see the ex-hurricane there really powering up the jet stream. And similar to the other runs, it eventually gets towards us around day 10, day 11. So it appears in the North Atlantic around day 6, day 7. But it takes about 3 or 4 days to cross the North Atlantic to reach us. In winter and autumn, sometimes that track there takes 12 to 24 hours. Here is taking a few multiples of that time. So yeah, much slower progress, and that aids that weakening. But you can see, similar to the GFS, by the end of the run, jet stream's more powered up, and you can see we're sat under lower pressure with a northerly wind. So not only would it be unsettled, but it would be much, much fresher. And you can see that jet stream is looking pretty powerful, sat to our south. So we're on the cooler side and unsettled side, and would be a pretty abysmal last couple of days of August there and start of September. So hopefully that doesn't come off. But if it does, then yeah, we could see a real sort of quick start to autumn there in this sort of scenario. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, I have heard some rumblings recently of the risk of a warmer end to August. Now, there are a few runs appearing there, but generally most runs are cool and looking unsettled. Of course, we're looking at London here, so it is not going to be the same further also westwards, which will be the focused area of any fresher and unsettled conditions. So of course, it's inevitably a bit warmer, a bit dry here. But overall, you can see it's warm at the moment, and then progressively next week, around the 21st, 22nd, it turns much, much cooler, and it remains around there with precipitation picking up all the way towards the end of August. A few runs, including the operational, spiking around the mid-teens at 850 HPA, but really it won't do much to the temperatures. It is just a spike. You can see here some runs up towards the mid-20s for a day or two before dropping off. So I'm a bit sceptical of that. We'll have to keep a close eye on it, but definitely a scenario that is there. The other operational runs not really showing it, but definitely a scenario that is there. As I said, though, the overall theme, though, is for more unsettled conditions there to end the month and more of a westerly flow. You can see that with the sea level pressure really dropping off there slowly, but over the course of the next week or two, going from around 1,025 millibars to maybe 1,005 by the last few days of August. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF ensembles, it's broadly very similar. Warm over the next couple of days, but dropping off during the middle of this week, turning pretty cool there around the 20th to the 24th, 25th, picking up a little bit, but only back towards average really, and precipitation picking up as well, really picking up though into the last 2 or 3 days of August, and that's where that ECMWF run really got those lows going and the jet stream powering up. So that is something we need to keep a close eye on, but no spike in warmth there around the 26, 27 like the GFS. Probably just a warm sector appearing within those ensembles, but it is something to take note of, as it could give a little glimpse of a fun, a bit of summer there and towards the end of August. So definitely things deteriorating slowly over the next week to 10 days, heading to more of a westerly or autumnal kind of end to the month. But at the moment, the next, as I said, short period of time, next 5 days, 7 days, isn't looking too bad at all. So if you have got plans, do make sure you get out and about. As I said, it could be a pretty poor end to the month, but it's still a little bit too far away to say that with certainty. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.